Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to teach you about destructors in programming. You will learn what are destructors, how to use them, and when. Also, make sure to watch this video until the end because I have a special surprise for you. So in my previous video, we talked about constructors, and it is necessary to understand what are constructors before you try to watch this video and understand what are destructors. So make sure to watch that video. It will be linked here, and I will also put it in the description. So the reason why we need destructors is to perform necessary cleanup tasks before an object is destroyed. So all the resources that object was holding, like memory or files and things like that, all of those things need to be released and deallocated before the object is destroyed, because otherwise they can degrade performance and stability of your application and cause memory leaks. And before we start talking about destructors, I want to introduce you with a tool that I love to use, which helps me to write better code without bugs. It is called PVS Studio, and it is static code analyzer. That means that it will analyze your code for potential issues and bugs, which is super useful, as you will see in this video. So it can help you prevent many errors and catch bugs before they go in production, which will save you a lot of hours that you would otherwise spend debugging your code, fixing errors, and that means that it will save you a lot of money. So it will definitely help you to improve the quality of your code and to avoid different errors and optimize your code. It is very easy to integrate with Visual Studio and other IDEs, and also you can use it for C, C++, C#, and Java. You have my link in the description that you can use to download it and start a free trial, but definitely make sure to read on their page, because if you're a student, you have different options to get it completely free. So make sure to try it out and see for yourself how it is going to help you to write better code faster and to avoid bugs. So what is Destructor? Destructor is a special type of function that is invoked whenever an object is being destroyed, and we will see an example of destructors in a minute when we start writing the code. So first I want to explain that the job of Destructor is opposite of the job of a constructor, which means that whenever you allocate memory for your object, you invoke constructor, and then when you need to deallocate that memory or free that memory, you invoke Destructor. Okay, so let's see how this works in code, and I will show you an example of destructors. So let's create a class. I will call that class book. Okay, so inside it, I want to have two properties. Let's say string title, and let's say string author or writer, like this. So as we already said, constructors are invoked at the beginning of a life of an object, and destructors are invoked at the end of its life. So let's create a constructor and also destructor to show this on an example. So let's first create constructor. Again, if you're not familiar with constructors, make sure to watch that video. It will be linked in the description. So I will create constructor. I will say book. Okay, and inside here, I will receive two parameters, string title and string author, like this. So inside here, I just want to assign this title to this title that I've received as a parameter, like this. And then also I want to do the same for author. Okay, so author is the same as this that we have received as a parameter. One very important thing is that both destructor and constructor should be in the public section of your class. So here I will say that everything inside this class is public. Okay, so this is an example of a constructor. Now let's see how we can create a destructor. First, you put tilde sign and then you give it a name and then you do this. Okay, so this is the example of a destructor, and there are 7 important things that I want to mention here. The first one is that destructor always starts with this tilde sign. This is called tilde sign, and in case that you cannot find it on your keyboard, I'm going to paste this code in the comments so you can copy it and use it for yourself, or you can Google this symbol. Again, it's called tilde. And then second rule is that the name of destructor is the same as the name of your class. Third rule is that Destructor does not have return type, not even void. So both constructor and Destructor do not have return types. That is third rule. Fourth rule is that Destructor does not receive any parameters. And then fifth rule is that it needs to be a member of your class. So it is a member function of your class. Sixth rule is that it needs to be placed in public area of your class. And then rule number 7 is that it can be only one destructor per class. So you can have multiple constructors, but only one destructor. Okay, now let's demonstrate when these two are invoked. So let's type here something like cout, and then let's say destructor invoked. Okay, and let's also add the title of the book so that we know for which book this destructor was invoked, like this. And then let's do the same for constructor. Here I will say that constructor, okay, constructor invoked for this title, and then here destructor invoked for this title. Now what I want to do is I want to create a few books to show you when both constructor and destructor are being invoked. So let me very quickly do that here, and then I will be back. So here I have created two books. The first one, Millionaire Fastlane, is by MJ DeMarco, and it's a great book for those of you who want to learn about businesses and managing finances. I recommend highly. And then the second one is actually a great book for learning C++, which is, I believe, more for you. And I found this book on the internet. It costs between $10 to $15, but I have a link where you can also download it for free, and I will put it in the description, or I will pin it in a comment, so make sure to check that out. Okay, so here we have two books, and for creating these two books, we are invoking this constructor. But these books should also be destroyed at the end of their scope, which is the end of application. So let's put a breakpoint here and let's see what is happening inside our program. Let's debug this program. So if I start it, let's see what is going to happen. So as you can see, our application was paused here, and if I press F11, as you can see, we are going into the constructor and we are performing all of these lines. And then we have created this first book, as you can see, titled Millionaire's Fastlane, MJ DeMarco. And then this second book is still not created. As you can see, error reading characters of string. So the first book was created. The second book was not still. So if I press F11 again, we are again going into the constructor, but this time for this C++ book. And then we are creating this C++ book. Okay, and now the second book should be created as well. Now we came to the end of our function. So if I press F11 here, let's see what is going to happen. Okay, and as you can see, the execution of our program was moved to this destructor. So here it is invoking destructor for C++ lambda story. Okay, and then once more it's here. And if I press F11 again, we are going into this function and we are destroying Millionaire's Fastlane book. Okay, and if I press F11 again, as you can see, our application will close now. So one interesting thing that you maybe noticed or maybe you didn't is that Destructor was invoked in the reverse order. So when you are invoking constructor, it will be invoked in this order. So this book will be created first, and then this book will be created second. But when you are destroying these objects at the end of their scope, Destructor is going to be invoked in the reverse order, which means that this book will be destroyed first, and then this book will be destroyed second. One important thing that I want to tell you is that if your program looks like this, which means if your class looks like this, then you don't need to create your own destructor. Why? Because compiler is smart enough to know how to destroy an object that looks like this. What do I mean by this? Well, I mean that this program doesn't have any pointers, but as soon as you start adding pointers and working with pointers, then you definitely need to create Destructor. You also need to create copy constructor and assignment operator, and those are separate topics that I have already filmed for different videos, and as soon as I edit them and publish them, I will link them in the description, so make sure to watch those definitely. So again, as soon as you start adding pointers, then you must create your own destructor, because otherwise you are going to have memory leaks. So let's create that situation. Let's add pointer. Let's say, for example, int pointer rates. Okay, and let's also say int rates counter, like this. So what I have done by this is I said, hey, I want to create an array of rates that will hold integers. And this rate is going to be a pointer, which means that it is going to point to the first position of my array. And I also have to specify in that case how many elements that array is going to have. And I've done that by saying rates counter. So here I will store the number of elements that this array here is going to have. So now what I want to do is here inside my constructor, I want to allocate this array. So let's manually hard code this to, let's say, 2 rates. So I will say rates counter is equal to 2. And let's say that rates array is equal to new integer array that has this many elements. Okay, now one very important thing is that if you are going to do this, you first need to write this line and then this line. Okay, so here I want to manually hard code 2 rates. Let's say rates of 0 will be equal to 4, and then let's copy this one more time, and let's say rates of 1 will be equal to 5. Okay, so these are 2 rates that we have. So as soon as you start working with pointers and allocating new space in your constructor, you need to deallocate that space in your destructor. Otherwise, you are going to have memory leaks. So what you want to do is this space here that you have taken, that you have allocated, you want to free it, which means deallocate it in your destructor. So what I need to do here is I need to say something like, please delete rates, like this. Now, one interesting thing that is happening here is that we are still leaking memory. So if you're using PVS Studio like I am, it is going to remind you here. So if I say, please check my current file for any errors and let me know if there are any errors. Now it's doing that. And there is this small window here, which you can see. And as you can see, it says the memory was allocated using new array, but was released using delete. So consider inspecting this code. It will probably be better to use delete and then array. Okay, so it is clearly telling you, hey, here you need to use these angled brackets in order to deallocate this. Okay, so that is one thing that PVS Studio is going to remind you of. If you are not using it, then make sure to keep this in mind whenever you are deallocating space. But let me very quickly delete this part here, and I want to show you something else. So let's very quickly switch to Excel, because I want to tell you why this code here is leaking memory. So this part here is visual representation of how your array looks like in memory. So this rates array is a pointer, which means that it holds an address, as you can see here. So what kind of address? Well, it holds the address of the first element of your array. If you are not familiar with pointers, please make sure to watch my playlist about pointers. It will be linked here and also in the description. So again, this rates pointer holds the address of the first element of your array, because that's the address of the array itself. And this array has 2 elements, 4 and 5, and they are on these 2 locations. So now, if you try to do this part only, what is going to happen and what your compiler is going to do is it is just going to delete this. So all of this memory here is now leaking. So you've just deleted the address of this array. You haven't freed the space that array is taking. So instead of doing this, if you do this, what is going to happen then is it is going to delete all of this. So in that case, you will not be leaking any memory. Also, another good practice that you should always do is you should say rates is equal to null PTR, like this. And in this situation, it's not going to cause any problems, but there are situations when not nulling your pointers can cause different issues. So keep this as a good practice to always null pointers whenever you are deleting them. So once more, this is how you create a destructor, and you need to create it whenever you are allocating space in your memory or working with pointers. And of course, these lines here can be removed. Okay, now one very interesting thing and one bug that can happen in this program and that is caused by this destructor is if you try to do something like this. Let's say that you want to create a new book. Let's call it book 3. And what you want to do is you just want to say, hey, this book 3 will be the same as this programming book here. So if I run this program, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, the execution of the program was paused here. So let's continue. And as you can see, I have an error here and we have received warning by PDS Studio at the same time. So if anyone knows what is happening here, let me know in the comments. And in my next video, I'm going to reveal to you what is actually going on here and how to fix this bug, because this is very common among beginners. And this is because many beginners don't understand how copy constructors work and how assignment operators work. So in my next video, we are going to talk about copy constructors. So as soon as I edit that video, because I've already filmed it, I'm going to publish it. So the link is going to be here and also in the description. So as I promised, for those of you who have stayed until the end, I have a special gift. For the past year, I've been working on a programming course that is going to take you from beginner to advanced level and get you ready to work on real projects that inspire you to work for companies where you can earn actual money. Or if you have your own idea, I will teach you how you can bring that idea to life and make it into an application. So I've been putting a lot of time into this course and all of my experience. So over a decade of experience packed into a single course. I know that learning programming can be overwhelming, and I know how important it is to have everything on one place, step by step. Many of you have asked me if this course is going to be about object-oriented programming, data structures, algorithms, and to be honest, I consider those topics to be pretty much beginner topics in programming. And once you see this programming course, you will also understand why. So topics like that and all of the other topics that are already available on my YouTube channel for free are maybe 2 or 3% of this programming course. And the remaining 97% of this course are things that you cannot find anywhere else on the internet. Things that you are struggling with, but you cannot find explanations for them. I want to give you that in an understandable and comprehensive way. Let me give you an example. Now you have watched my video about Destructors, and maybe you watched a couple more videos from other creators, and you think that you understand the concept because you can apply it on a couple of different examples. But what happens when you are faced with a real problem? What happens when you're faced with a problem that you have never seen before? For example, you're working for a company and one day your boss comes and says, hey, this is not going to work anymore. Our application is 5 times the size that it should be. It's leaking memory everywhere. It's slow, it's crashing, and people don't want to use it anymore. We are losing money. What are you going to do then? What are you going to do in a situation where you're faced with a problem in an application that has 500,000 lines of code? So those are the things that I want to teach you in this programming course. So as I said, this is going to be beginner to advanced programming course, and I will teach you all the programming concepts, but not on small individual examples. I want to teach you how all of these programming concepts work together and how they coexist to make big complex applications, because only on big projects you can really understand programming, and you can develop your programming logic and understand all of the concepts from object-oriented programming, data structures, algorithms, design patterns, solid principles, and all of the other things that you are going to learn in this programming course. So for those of you who watch my YouTube videos until the end and who really want to learn programming, I want to give you a special discount, and I will put a link in the description for you that you can use to sign up for this discount. And make sure to do it now because the number of people that can get it is limited. So thank you very much for watching. All of the code will be pinned in the comments, and I will see you in some other video. Bye!